In this video, we'll discuss how redness in the sclera of the eye points to imbalances or disharmonies in the liver system and ideas to consider. Enjoy. One of the most relevant aspects of face reading, in my opinion, is the health diagnostic component of face reading. A lot of times when we're doing these videos and you're watching these and hopefully you're learning stuff from me, we're talking about psychological profiling to a degree. It's about the psychology of a person, what features mean in relation to that, and then the health diagnostics. That's the other component that I think is very, very important, because part of longevity in the East is about the physical tending to the body. The physical body must stay healthy for us to live a long time, and the face can act as a signpost to be sort of a general orientation to what could be going wrong earlier in the game. So Eastern medicine in general, at its basic orientation level, is about preventative medicine rather than acute intervention. So you can think of Western medicine as disease management, and Eastern medicine much more as life nourishment. What can we do to bolster life force? That being said, the reason I'm telling you that is because today, in this video, we're going to be talking about the whites of the eyes, what they call the sclera, and what that means in relation to the liver system, or the wood element. So there's a term they use in Chinese medicine, and they'll refer to an organ and they'll say spleen energetics, or heart energetics, or liver energetics. And what that's pointing to is the general energetic function of an organ system in relation to how the mind, body, and spirit perform in relation to the integrity of that organ. So basically, energetics is a big umbrella term for all of those layers within an organ system. So in an ideal world, what we're looking for in the sclera of the eyes is for a clear, off-white presentation of the eyes, which means not a lot of broken blood vessels, not a lot of redness, just this sort of clear off-white. That's a sign, and the prognosis is good in terms of liver function for a person. So that's the ideal. What I want to talk about a little bit is when we start to see the red broken blood vessels, we start to see discolorations in the sclera. I could do a whole video on Chinese medicine diagnostics, specifically what each one means, but we're not going to do that. What I want you to think about is that typically what I see with my clients and with people in the West is a lot of broken blood vessels, and you probably have met someone or seen a person or seen even actors on TV where the whites of the eyes are consistently red. When that's the case, what that's code for is that that person, whether it's you or someone else you're seeing, is they need to look at their liver. So I think it's always good, yes, to get a Western medical diagnostic for that. So getting your liver levels tested is always advisable. Check with your primary healthcare practitioner. And none of this is medical advice. This is just educational material according to Eastern thought and Chinese medicine principles. So that's a good place to start. But then the Eastern lens would say right out of the gates, if you're seeing redness in the eye, that means that the liver system is inflamed. And what that points to in the Eastern context is usually a repression, suppression, or pressure cooking of our emotional terrain, specifically in relation to irritability, frustration, and anger. So in the Eastern context, the liver is responsible for the free flow of emotion in the body. It's what allows us to shift gears from emotion to emotion. So if you think of a 5-speed manual transmission, there's probably a lot of you watching who have never driven a 5-speed, but when you drive a 5-speed manual transmission in a vehicle, you've got to step the clutch in, you shift, and it allows you to go from gear to gear, right? To accelerate and to optimize gas mileage when you're on the freeway and whatnot. You want to think of the clutch, the pedal you depress to shift gears, as sort of the liver function. If the liver is not operating well, we don't shift gears between emotions very well. And that's a problem, because in the East, our emotions are meant to be temporal. They should come and go. We should have intermittent periods where emotions come through, good and bad, and then come back to a place of tranquility. So if we're seeing that redness in the eyes, that means that clutch, that gear shifting mechanism in the liver, is backed up. So what I tell people from a general lifestyle perspective, one of the ways that we can start to generally start to improve the function of the liver, again, not medical advice, just educational material. This isn't me telling you to go do these things, but to research them and consider it. Things like intermittent fasting, where we start getting the body to naturally detoxify, because when we intermittently fast or we do prolonged fasting, the body goes into autophagy, where we start to clean up these cells. The other thing in the Eastern context is deep diaphragmatic breathing. So fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. The 5 elements relate to how the organs connect and relate to each other. So giving that backdrop and understanding that, there's something within Chinese medicine called the organ clock. And it's basically how the vital energy of the body moves through the different organ systems throughout a given day. It also has ties to our circadian clock. But long story short, at the end of this cycle, okay, where our energy starts is in the lungs. It works its way through all of the organ systems, and the last organ that it finishes in, where the cycle ends, is the liver. And then from the liver, it goes right into the lungs. The reason I'm mentioning this is because basically the membrane between the beginning of the cycle and the end of the cycle is this liver and lung connection. So breathing is how you decompress the liver, the wood element, okay? That's the way to think about it. So these are a couple key points to think about, but pay attention to those red eyes. If you're seeing that, these are some ideas to consider. Take care.